An astute coaching performance as well as that on the field from the players. You've got to think now for Japan, having gone so close to upsetting the All Blacks, the mighty All Blacks. Jamie Joseph talked about it. The aura has perhaps been smashed now, but not only that, he talked about England being a better team that they've got to play next week. I mean, the confidence levels of having played so well and gone so close must do wonders for this team. Oh, it's massive. And you've got to think also, they had a really good lead-up. You know, they had the Australian A side. Albeit they lost, 2. But what was important is they won that last one. They lead into now to the, so they had a solid sort of, lead up into the All Blacks. They now go to England, which is a tough place to go and play, Twickenham. It's another stepping stone in terms of their plan. And I like what he's sort of talking about. He's talked about how they had double tackled and because they're not quite physical to have sort of win that contact one-on-one. They're going to have that same challenge when they go to England, if not even harder, because those guys there are probably a lot more physical than probably what the All Blacks are in terms of the size and that, Taylor. So he knows what the challenge is. But they also, what I love about what Brownie's saying is the plan that they've got in place leading into Rugby World Cup.
And I think it's the belief that those two coaches instill in their players as well, because they're talking so confidently and that would rub off on the players. And you talk about the aura, but that belief, and I think, as you said, yes, they can't really compete physically and they commit 2 tacklers, but that's why they have to be really smart on attack, and that's why I love that they bring heaps of variation to their game, because if you're not going to win defensively, then you really need to be good on attack. And you can see Tony Brown all over the line-out moves, the set-piece moves as well. They were always trying something different, and they were changing pictures for that All Black team, and it made it hard to defend. They're not playing the simple rugby that they used to play. They're always doing something different, and it was really hard for the team to read defensively. And as Chelsea mentioned before, because the connections aren't there, you can't really trust your inside man that you always know is going to be there because you haven't really played with them too much. So I think what those two coaches have done with this team is great.
Chelsea, we talked about the fact that obviously they're without the captain now, Sam Cane. It gives a chance for Dalton to come and step. I mean, he was brilliant, wasn't he, when he came off the pine? I think 9 tackles in 14-odd minutes. So you look at him. Who else would have locked their places down? Maybe Shannon Frizzell. You've got to talk about another locking option now with Scott Barrett. He obviously would potentially slot him with Sam Whitelock. How do you see that unfolding for Cardiff?
It's a tough one. In terms of any one person solidifying their role, I'm not sure last night was a good indicator of being able to say any one person really stood out. Dalton, that stat alone, 9 tackles in 14 minutes, showed how hungry he was to stamp a mark. And obviously with Sam Cane out, he has the perfect opportunity to go in and be part of that loose forward trio. Whether we play him there or Ardie goes back into 7, I'm not sure. Someone else who I think has more than solidified their role is obviously Tokiaho. He is hands down our best hooker and one of our best performing forwards week in, week out. So again, last night he had the late call in and managed to put together a pretty fantastic performance. In terms of the locking department, we've obviously got Barrett coming back in, Sam Whitelock who'll come in and maybe captain. I'm guessing he'll be our captain. But yeah, we've got a few young guys there as well. So look, I think back to your question, I'm not sure anything's solidified there, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see what we go with for the Wales test.
If you're Ian Foster, what are you trying to gain out of this game and the selections you've made? Okay, you're giving guys an opportunity to go out there and play a couple, play their first test matches or start their first test for some of them as well, giving them some more extra game time because they haven't seen a little bit, like the old Lalas that have been there for a while, Bauer getting him back into the swing of things. Yeah. If there was anyone that was sort of really going to stand out, when you look at the team that played against Australia, they have to be in positions where your top players aren't going to. And I suppose he's ticked the boxes in terms of that. He's given them game time. You got Bauer, Lala, Tupou Vai. Has he still sort of got it? He hasn't played a lot of football, and in terms of Test match football. Frizzell comes into the mix. Christie, he brings a different game. In terms of what Aaron Smith would bring. Okay, so let's put him out there and see, how he goes. Not just under pressure, but also game variation. And then you look at the back with Sheck, and they haven't played a lot of Test match. Well, they've hardly played any at all. And Perofeta. So he's ticked all those boxes. The good thing about what's happened is we've won. They've been put under a bit of pressure, OK? Don't get me wrong, they've been put under a heap of pressure. The thing now is it's so important. They have been resilient throughout this whole year in terms of the stuff that's happened off the field. It's important now they go to Wales, which is going to be a very tough ask, and get everyone up to scratch and really try and fight for that sort of momentum back. Ideally, you wouldn't have wanted that situation because you would have wanted just to kick on for this tour and then keep going. Hopefully, by the Scottish test, being able to give those guys opportunities. But I think the big positive is you've ticked all those boxes and giving those guys game time. We now kick on, we reset, and we really try and hammer these next 3 weeks, because it's going to be tough. That Northern Hemisphere teams, they will be vying for blood.
Millsy, you were talking a couple of weeks back about maybe the Scottish Test being the chance to play a few new guys and blood some players. Taylor, I want to talk about the midfield. Chelsea's alluded to it as well. Did we get enough out of that exercise last night with Braden Ennor and Roger Tuivasa-Sheck? Because you've got to ask the question, how involved are those two going to be in that All Black midfield conversation going forward?
Well, you already know how involved they're going to be because they're off the All Black 15, you know, and we had two people sitting on the bench, two midfielders essentially, with Anton Leonard-Brown and David Havili coming back in. And I was really impressed with Anton Leonard-Brown when he came onto the field. Look, Tuivasa-Sheck, he had some really good touches as well, and there was a lack of chemistry in between those two players, and I don't think someone like Braden really cemented his spot there. But the midfield has been a massive problem for the All Blacks. We've got so many skilled individuals, but whether the combination, I don't know who the great combination is there, but it's a real tough headache.
Chelsea, take it away.
I think for me, as a player, where you get the most confidence and the most gains as a player is when you play 1 week, you go back, you do your review with the coaches, with whoever you're playing with to make those combinations, and you get to go back out there in the next week or two and fix those mistakes and gel a bit more. So that's the tough thing for me. These guys have been chucked out there, and yeah, there's a lot to fix. We all know that. But are they going to get the opportunity to do that? Or is putting, you know, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck down to the 15 going to give him the opportunity to do that in a different environment? But then again, we're losing that combination. So, yeah, look, I do agree with you, Mills, with the fact that having the first game to give all these guys a go and really tick the boxes, I'm not sure it was the right move to be able to then fix some of those things, give these players more confidence. See, now what we're going to do is we're going to go put our best team back out there, and these guys are going to sit back and, you know, all they've got memories of is the Japan game, where they probably didn't have the ability to shine like they would have liked to in their one opportunity in the All Blacks.
There's going to be a cauldron, that is for sure, against Wales and Cardiff. Congratulations too to Billy Harmon, who's been called up wonderful season in Super Rugby, fully deserved as well. Well, a first test start for Stephen Perofeta in Tokyo. He caught up with Goldie after the match.
Well, Stephen, congratulations. Obviously, it was a big shift out there tonight. A lot of, I suppose, anticipation going into the test match. How did you find the whole experience?
It was test match footy. I think first taste was just the speed of it, and you got to react at a different speed. So it was definitely an eye-opener for me, and I enjoyed it though. I enjoyed it. It was definitely a test, and it wasn't the prettiest win, but we got the win.
Can you talk me through the sort of the rolling emotions during a game? I remember myself from time to time as the ebbs and flows, the momentum shifts. Did you feel some of that during this match?
Absolutely, yeah. We'll do one good thing and then probably couldn't quite stack it and back it up, which we'll probably look at this week and look to improve that in the coming weeks. But yeah, look, we knew Japan would come back and they wouldn't go down without a fight. So yeah, it was a tough contest.
In terms of the experience through the course of the week and the responsibility of knowing you're starting in the test match, how do you felt you went dealing with that?
I thought I did all right. Yeah, I was able to get clear and just focus on how I could contribute to the team. Tonight, probably just a little bit slow off the mark, but look, first started test was definitely an eye-opener, but I enjoyed the most of it. Yeah.
A bit of a sense of a relief, though, the fact that you've got that one behind you. Like, everyone talked about the 45 seconds, and we're going to ourselves, when is he going to get that next chance? Is there almost a weight off the shoulders, the fact now I know that this is what it feels like?
Yeah, definitely. But then it's about, I think, for me, how I can grow and improve on this performance, playing 80 at test match level, because it's a step above all else. So I'm definitely excited about the opportunity in the coming weeks, whether or not I get the chance to play again.
It's been a great place to play. I was wondering what it would be like here for 65,000 people. This has been a special night.
Very special. I think, to be honest, for 65,000, it wasn't as loud as I thought it would be. But that's Japanese for you. They have a lot of respect, and even when the kickers were kicking, you know, it was like you could hear a pin drop with the way they were so silent. So look, they love the game as much as we do, and they're passionate supporters. And yeah, we're very blessed to play in front of a Japanese crowd.
First win in the belt. Well done. Congratulations.
Cheers, Goldie. Thank you.
So John Kerwin, let's reflect on tonight, but also a bit of focus to next week. The fact there's a lot of guys out here are doing some conditioning work. We've got a few Barretts who've come back in. 3 of them have come back into the fold, will be available for next week. So it's Wales and Cardiff. It'll be a vastly different team, and they'll need to be more accurate than they were here tonight in Japan.
Yeah, look, I think if you talk about the game, what was interesting, probably Stephen Perofeta playing at fullback, probably didn't break enough so you could put him at 10. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck at 12, Hoskins Tutu at 8. They were probably the big selections for me. So as you move into next week, you're saying, okay, did they do enough to actually start forcing a test spot? And my immediate answer is probably not yet. And you're probably looking at going back to some of the guys who are behind us. Who comes in at 12? Do we go back to probably the 2 guys that are running in behind us?
It's going to be a different game though, right? When
Yeah,
get to
Wales
Cardiff,
is hard.
Yeah, but it's completely different conditions. I mean, this is an afternoon game. That was frenetic out there in terms of the speed and the pace, and it looked as though we sort of hit a bit of a wall, whereas we're going to go into Cardiff and they themselves are searching for a bit. So, I mean, if we come back to what we had at the end of the Rugby Championship, you get a feeling as though we'll be able to kick things off again, right?
Yeah, there's absolutely no excuses for today, and don't take anything away from Japan.
No.
So what we need to look at, and I don't know whether they're hiding some stuff, but they did a beautiful move where we scored in the first half, where there's a bit of movement, but we did a lot in the channel where Japanese are good. They get 2 shoulders on, they're running into that space. So if you are Wayne Pivac and you're sitting back there in Wales, you're going, they're going to play like that. We're just going to not worry about winning the ball. We're just going to get off our line. The Japanese today did not contest the ruck a lot because they just thought, we're going to spread and bash them over. So I'd be seeing, I think they'll get on the plane, they'll be happy with the win, not that happy with some of the performances. Some of the individuals have done enough to put themselves in contention, but I still think we'll go back to Whitelock will be out there. Who knows what's going to happen with the red card? You know, Rico will now go to 13.
Will Jordan, I'm not sure where Will Jordan is right now, whether or not he rejoins and comes back in. And you know, he was the obvious fullback option and alternative for this game, which we never got to see. So let's talk about expectations then. And maybe you've been in a situation where you haven't played for a month. The All Blacks were in that situation, right? They've come together. This was a new combination which hadn't played together before, and they hadn't played for 4 weeks. So I'm almost prepared to forgive them this disjointed performance. But in the end, they've won another Test match.
Win the football game and get on with it. I mean, you and I have both been in this situations. You come to Japan, you're going on your northern tour. There'll be 3 or 4 different Test matches, and if we're going to win them all, you're going to win them in different ways. And today probably wasn't as comfortable as the All Black coaches would have wanted, but 1 down. Get on with it. Guys have stood up. I thought Roger showed some good signs, which I think was good. Had good feet, good offloads, you know. But next week, I don't think there'll be too many changes to the starting lineup. The big question is, where's Geordie going to play? So is Will Jordan going to come back into the side? Is he well? What do we do? So I think probably we'll see Havili, we'll see Rico, we'll see Geordie back at fullback. What are we going to do at 10?
The last thing for me will be, where does Anton Leonard-Brown fit the picture as well? Because he was really good tonight, coming off the bench, showed his experience, his discipline and accuracy defensively. I tell you what, team, I think the next couple of days, the selection debate is one we love to have on the breakdown. I want to hear from you guys who you think is going to play in Cardiff.
No real disagreement from the pair of them, which is unusual. Mills, let's talk though about tight 5. Firstly, I mean that is one area of the loosies in midfield, Chelsea as well. But that tight 5 mix, you were saying maybe they need to run that out against Japan, get some momentum. We will see big change there, obviously, if Brodie gets the skate at the judiciary as well.
Yeah, exactly. I think we've had real momentum with the young guys that we've had in the tight 5. You know, De Groot will come in, Tokiaho, we know that he's played really well, and Lomax comes into the play. The locking will be interesting because Barrett, if Retallick is going to be out, he's probably going to slot in. Then you put, you know, Frizzell in it. You see Artie comes back into play, and you put Papali'i. That would be the obvious fix, and give Frizzell that sort of, you know, a bit more game time. And the guys are right. I think they will revert back to the team that perhaps sort of, you know, Melbourne / you know, the Auckland sort of Test match. And the talking point will be second five and also where Bowden plays. I think Havili probably. I'll probably go backwards. I'd put Bodie on the bench with ALB because I don't think you don't need to put ALB under that much pressure to go out there and start a Test match. He's coming back. He played really well yesterday, but it's a makeup of where Bowden and him play. So they cover a lot of positions. If you put Bowden out there at 15. And move Geordie around, then you're sort of opening yourself up to someone getting injured and then not be able to cover that from the bench. And so I think you go back to that, you revert back to that, which would be a lot of big talking point because I still think Mo'unga needs to stay at 10 to keep that consistency. So 12 for me is going to be a big talking point, but for me, really, the bench makeup would be Christie, ALB and Bowden Barrett and let Havili have another shot at second five and put Geordie at the back.